Hello class. In this video we're going to work on chapter 10 together, and I would like to do this chapter 10 case study, designing the course class. Now this is also available to you in Ravel, and I'm kind of looking at it right here, and I'm going to go ahead and code this working together. Now, looking at our diagram, our UML diagram, we're going to have a class that sets up courses for us, and the class level variables are going to be course name, students, and number of students. Then we're going to have the different methods available. First of all, our course constructor is going to expect a course name. We're going to allow a get for that. We're going to allow the adding of a student with a string. We're going to allow the dropping of a student with a string. We're going to return get student information. Let's see, it says, ooh, look at that, when I mouse over it returns the students in the course, and then get the number of students. So those are the different variables and methods that we're going to have in our class. So let's go ahead and work on that. I am right now going to use Eclipse, so I'll go ahead and get ready to create that class information. We're also going to have a tester here for it. You guys can run this inline in Ravel, which again works a lot like the debugger does, but it kind of takes you out of the environment that you're used to using and puts you in a special Ravel environment. So I want for you, of course, to know how to do things in multiple different ways. Now I'm looking at the hard copy of our book, or the book that's available to me online, and I'm going to start coding this course class first. So in Eclipse, I'm going to add a new class, and I'm going to call it course. And in my course, I'm going to be able to, of course, have those different methods and properties available that we talked about. First of all, a private string for the course name, a private string array for students. So note that in our course we're going to allow multiple students, and this is going to be a new instance of an array of strings, and we're going to have 100 occurrences in our array. Now please refer to your textbook to see information about how you can dynamically resize that array, how you can change things up a little bit. I also need an integer for the number of students. Now that's my class level variable definition, so I'll go ahead and create my constructor, and I'm going to make it public, of course, because for people to be able to construct an instance of my class, my constructor must be public. And I'm going to expect a string parameter that I'm going to refer to as course name to be passed to me when building an instance of my class, and I'm going to set the course name in this instance of the class equal to the course name that was used for the constructor. So now I've created an instance of my class, and all it has in it is the name of the course. Now I'm going to allow people to add students to the course, and they're going to be able to do that using my add student method. And my add student method is going to expect an input string, and it's going to refer to that as student. And in my method, I'm going to take my students array, and using my number of students variable, I'm going to update that array, adding in this student, and then I'm going to add to the number of students in my class. So notice how this variable, this class level variable, the number of students, is being used to keep track of how many students are in the class, but is also being used as an index into our student array, so that as we add a new student's information, their name, into our class, we're using that number of students index variable to set that array location. Okay, So now I can go ahead and add my method to return the number of students. Oops, wait, I need my string to return a student name array. And this is going to be my getStudents method. Now I don't need any arguments passed in as parameters to that method because it's just going to return the entire array of students. That'll take care of it. Now I'm going to continue on with my methods, and I need another one to return an integer, and this is going to be my get number of students. Again, no parameters because this is just going to return the class level variable number of students. Almost done here with my course class. Now I need to go ahead and add another method that returns a string, and this is going to get our course name. Again, my getters don't usually have parameters because I just return the class level variable that they were requesting in that method. Alright, so now I got my get course name. The last thing I need is I'm going to create kind of a signature here for a method that could be implemented called drop student, and this one would expect a string with that student name in it, and in our text it says this is left as an exercise in programming exercise 10.9. So a great activity for you to do in your spare time, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that method signature in our class so that we know that that's something to do. I'll go ahead and put that in, to do. Now we're all set. Okay, so my course class is ready to go. I've got all of the information coded. It might be nice of me to go ahead and add a few comments. How about I'll say this class defines a course. A course has a course name, many students, and an integer that keeps track of the current number of students. That defines our class pretty well. Now right here, let's go ahead and say that this constructor builds an instance of the course. It expects the course name to be passed as a parameter. Alright, now our other methods down here. This method adds a student to the students array. This, now notice how the different comments work. This method returns the student array. This method returns the number of students. Yes, that one may be a little self-documenting, but we're still going to put our comment in. Lastly, we're returning the course name. Now, notice how none of our properties of our class, or none of our variables in our class, are allowing update other than adding 2 students, and when we get a new student, we automatically update our number of students. But our course name, we can't change it. So once an instance of this class has been created, that course name is read-only. We'll let them have it, but we won't let them update it. This method will remove a student from the student array. Okay, so now our course class is all set up. We're ready to create our tester code to implement some instances of our class so that we can see how things work. I'm going to go ahead and create a new class module in my project. And this is going to be test course. It is going to have my main, so I'm going to go ahead and check that box to have it include my main for me so that I don't have to do that. All right, here's my test course, and then I have my main. So I'll go ahead and eliminate our to-do because we're going to do it right now. So I'll go ahead and say, first of all, I want to create an instance of a course, and is my course class not public? Let's check. It certainly is. We'll see. I'm going to keep going here for a second and see if it's one of those kind of errors that will go away. This is going to be course 1, and it's going to be a new instance of our course. And this one we're going to call data structures. So this is going to be our first course instance. And it's gotten everything a little bit figured out. Now I'm going to create another course, and this one is going to be called course 2. And this one is going to be called database systems. And I hope you guys come take the database class on campus so I can get to meet you if I haven't gotten to. Okay, so now I've created 2 instances of my new course, and I'm going to update course 1 and add a student. And this student, notice how the editor is giving us prompts, so it's seeing our class information. It knows that our method add student requires a string that defines the student, so we can use that helpful information as we're coding our program. This is going to be Peter Jones, and then I'm going to go ahead and add another student to that course. And this time I'm going to add Kim Smith. And another student. I know there's a better way to do that. This one is going to be Ann Kennedy. Okay, so now in our first course, we have 3 students. So we'll see how things are working out there. Now we're going to go ahead and update our second course. Course 2, we're going to add a student, and again this one is going to be Peter Jones. He's in both classes. And we're going to add Steve Smith. And that's all the students we need to add to that database class. So now we can do some output here. So we can see how we've built up our class modules. And of course we saw we could also use the debugger to see how things are being built. I'm going to add our system.out.println. And the first thing we want to output is a message that says number of students in course, colon, space. Then we're going to add, add our course one dot get students, get number of students. I need to close my opening parenthesis there for my print line statement. There we go. All right, now, next I'm going to output a little bit more information, but first I'm going to build an array of strings to receive my students from my class. Now we could call this array anything. Let's try naming it something else. So I'm going to use my getStudents method of my course one object to return the array of students. Let's call these ones, instead of just creating another array called students, I'll call these C1 students. How's that? So we notice that we can name that whatever we like. It doesn't matter because we're just using that to receive all that information. It's a catcher standing there waiting for that pitch from that getStudents method that's going to throw out that whole array of strings of all those students that we've created. Now, since we've got this whole array of students, we're going to use a for loop, and we're going to control that loop with an integer named I that we're going to start with the initial value of 0. We're going to run our loop while I is less than course1 dot get number of students. So remember that number of students is going to return an integer, how many students are in our course, and we're going to use that integer to control this for loop. So as long as I is less than the number of students that we have in that class, we're going to continue looping, and for each time we loop, we're going to add to I. Now, as we are in our for loop, we're going to output the name of each of those students in that array using the print statement, and we're going to output our C1 students, and we want to use an index based on the value of our loop control variable I, and then in addition to that student's name, we're going to output a comma followed by a space, so that we're going to output all of our student names on one line, and each of them is going to have a comma space after the name. Now let's go ahead, that's the end of our loop, and now we want to output a blank line. And then we want to output number of students in course 2, and we're going to place a call to our course 2 object's get number of students method to return how many students are in that course. Then we'll put our semicolon in the right place, and we should be all good to go. So let's review our tester code here real quick. In our tester, we've set up our main method that's going to execute when we run our program. We have created an instance of a course called course 1, and its name is data structures. We've created another instance of a course named course 2, and its name is database systems. We use our add student method of course 1 to add some students. Same for course 2. Then we're going to go ahead and output some information, the number of students in course, and we're going to count our our course 1 number of students. So we're going to execute that get number of students method for the instance of our object named course 1, and then we're going to prepare a string, an array string, to get all of the students that are enrolled in that course. We're going to go into a for loop to print each of those students out, and then print out how many students are in course 2. Phew! Let's run it. I want to save them all. And I get number of students in course 3. Peter Jones, Kim Smith, and Ann Kennedy. And then the number of students in course 2 is 2, which is correct. Peter Jones and Steve Smith. Whoa, it's super fancy, isn't it? So notice in our course method, we're just using constructors to say we want to keep track of the number of students, and then we're setting up an array to keep track of multiple student names so that different students can be held within our class. So we see that we have a lot of capabilities here. We can do many, many things, and that's the power of object-oriented programming. Now, we are not going to assign this activity to do for you, but you're welcome to do it, the exercise 10-9, and that's it. I hope you enjoy the course. Oh yeah, and don't forget to go ahead, that email distracted me there for a second. Don't forget to set up a breakpoint somewhere in your tester, and maybe right here where we create an instance of our course, our second one, and then debug this program so that you can see the code and step through it step by step and see what's going on. Creating an instance of our course, creating our array, setting our course name, adding our students. Notice how it's running to our class and executing that add student method. Adding another student. Don't forget, you can be watching your variable values up here and see what's going on. So this program itself, this class and this tester, are excellent uses for you of the debugger, for you to really start seeing what's going on and knowing how your program is being executed. It's very important, and it can be, again, a little complicated. So thank you.